harder, faster. Boom, I'm going to the maximum. I'm going to the maximum. I'm going to the maximum.
Thank you, GM. Good morning, all. So great to be in Philippines, Manila, my first time here. So such a warm reception, and it's great to be here in front of all these great speakers. Today I'm talking about the future of the PFP, and we're going to talk about BAYC, the Bored Ape Yacht Club. This is not by no means intended to be some sort of thing about BAYC itself. Really, the intention is what is a PFP, and how it is that you can utilize that for yourself. Because there's something very powerful about a PFP that we'll see progress and keep building as we go along this Web3 journey that we're all on. Next slide. So I go by way of Jin on Twitter. You can find me there. I dabbled in crypto in 2018, and then last year, January 2021, I discovered Top Shots, VV, NFTs, and I was like, what is this craziness? And since then, it's been a total roller coaster ride. But one of the things that two kind of highlights for me is I joined in January, and in January, there was, I would say, about 10 to 15,000 traders in the US marketplace actively trading. So it was something where we can actually reach out and we kind of recognize names. And when someone started posting about something, everyone kind of followed. There was only 3 to 5 projects launching around that time. So it's much easier to track and find out and discover projects that were either good quality or bad quality, or we just kind of FOMOed in together. So, I have a large collection number-wise, but a lot of them are, down to 0 at this point. But one of the things that was important about that, in seeing so many projects and understanding how and what really made them succeed or fail, really gave me a great education and seeing how communities developed and didn't develop and what the projects really were doing well. So the phenomenon of BAYC, I think it sold out like late April. That was actually interesting for me because I come from a design background, and the actual PFP of Bored Ape was never very attractive to me. So I was like, I don't want to pay 0.08 for this ugly looking ape, and it was kind of a little bit too out there for me. But of course, the way that Twitter works is, once you really catch a wave, everyone gets excited, the news came on, it sold out, and so I'm like, all right, fine, let's go ahead and pick up one. So I was looking for one essentially the day after it minted, and seeing again how the community developed. I know I had people come to me recently and asking me, BAYC, was it in when Jimmy Fallon came in or Justin Bieber came in? Is that when you really felt like community was formed? And they're surprised when I tell them, actually it happened even before the mint on the Discord, and people encounter each other. So it's a great opportunity when a project is in the process of even pre-launching to see and understand who the players are, who the people are, and even as a developer myself, developing Cambotica, you get to see who are the people who join you first. And there's a tremendous sense of, these guys were early, you want to remain loyal to them and really honor the fact that they trusted you and were part of your project so early on. So seeing BAYC from the beginning and seeing how the community developed, the following couple weeks after the mint happened, it was an incredible experience because people, for the first time, you have a project that is creating a membership style token, and that we are all working together. So people start creating like a Rolodex, reaching out to you. I'm an architect, you're an accountant, let's do something together. Or you start to see these pockets of people start to build businesses around the IP itself. And for the first time, being able to, might not be the first time, but the first time that it really took off, was taking a commercially licensed IP, be able to take that commercial license to yourself. That was an amazing opportunity for entrepreneurs to be able to become part of the space while not having to launch their own projects. There's so much that goes into a project, the tech, the art, the finance, social media, the marketing, all those things. It's a huge undertaking to launch a project. The opportunity presented by BAYC and projects currently is that if you have the commercial license, you're essentially launching your own brand based on a larger brand. There's very opportunities in the world today that allow you to do that. So the parent company is Genesis Arc, and we launched Cambotica. You can see here, this is some of our 3D artwork that we're going to be rolling out soon, and we have replicas coming out soon as well. So that's a project that for us, really the PFP and understanding the use cases really also is something that we're looking to develop and understand. So my background is in architecture and in real estate. And I have a wife and 2 kids. And I wanted to give you guys a sense of me as a persona or personality because this whole topic is the PFP, right? Next slide. So the PFP, the top 8 collections currently sold are all PFPs. What is the reason for that? Why is it that all of these are distinctly recognizable and have a huge number of sales? Why is it that the PFPs really stand out? I want to get into the psychology of this. NFTs in particular, and I would say even crypto to a large degree, is a very human, sociologically, behaviorally induced culture and movement, let's call it. Why is it that the PFP is so sought after and has gained so much traction, so much value in this Web3 ecosystem? Fundamentally, every person, we are social beings. We're all here in some sense for a social reason, to be part of something, to learn something, or even to convene or do something together. So the PFP is really a representation of who I am, my identity, and how you perceive me. The first thing that you see is going to be my face. And how do I represent myself in the Web3 world? Is it my face itself, or is it going to be an avatar that I'm now going to represent? So you see all these collections here. Each one of these collections represents a certain kind of ethos or a certain kind of mentality or a certain kind of culture that's built into each collection. You look at each one of these collections, you will see a nuanced experience of each one of the cultures that those projects or the community have really started to take on. So it's very interesting to see when you encounter someone, which collections are you currently part of. And not to say from the value standpoint, because there's that flex, but from a visual, if one collection is roughly valued the same one, which ones are the ones that I'm valuing, I'm holding? So next slide. Next slide. Next slide, please. All right, so what is a PFP? Essentially, it's a profile pic, but picture for profile is kind of, I guess, maybe a technical term. These are 4 different things that I want to show you guys the use cases of PFP, and I'll talk about an opportunity for each one of you as to what it is you can use and how you can utilize the PFP. So the first one is identity. We kind of went through that already. If you can show the next slide. As you can see is, this is, on the left here is my board ape, and I'm a way of Jin. So this is how I've been representing myself. And actually, it gets confusing because Jin could be both a male and female name, and a lot of people, because my ape looks female, they presume I'm a female. So there's some little bit of confusion when it comes to that. But essentially, when I see on someone's Twitter profile that they have an ape, there's a many immediate connection there. Like Jane Bond, my man over here, BAKC, Kata. When I first saw him and saw his ape, there was an immediate connection. And we already know that we have a certain kind of ethos, understanding, a certain kind of vibe. So if I encounter a BAYC ape in Singapore, I went there recently, there was a 50-person gathering there. There's a group in Japan, there's a group in Taiwan, there's so many different groups. And when I come to a place like this, I immediately am seeking, where are my fellow apes? That's the identity I have. And I can also represent that I and you and I, if you see me as an ape, we can identify. So it's an identifier, and I think we all can kind of relate to that. Now, one of the things that's going to be interesting is that these are all 2D PFPs, right? When we go into the metaverse, that's like the term I think that really is going to start become bigger. It's already large itself. But take away from the NFT, because the NFT itself, I don't know if you guys know, but NFT is non-fungible token, right? I don't know if you guys know, but there's fungible, non-fungible tokens, fungible NFTs. So the terminology itself is going to be changing. What won't change is your PFP, or it'll change based on your identity. So as we enter the metaverse, we're currently developing 6899 into board Jesse, and we are using this profile to now start creating a 3D avatar and be a virtual influencer in Korea. So I wanted you guys to see how the movement and where the direction of all this is going, because this is really where the opportunities are going to reside for you as well. And we just actually, we didn't even launch the Board Jesse campaign yet, but the idea is that as we develop the virtual influencer, I want you guys to have an inside look as to see what are the things that you can start doing with your 2D avatars and also your 3D avatars. Next slide. So as I mentioned before, BAKYC Kata here. Great group. I think there was 80 or 90 different apes here, so it's a pretty large sized group and very, very well organized. If you go downstairs, there's the Anno Toys display. They have fantastic t-shirts, great designs, and they are developing on the branding and licensing opportunities here. But as you can see here, it's global. You have BAKYC, Korea, Canada, UK, Elite Apes in Hong Kong, Kata here, French Apes, Japanese, Yacht Club. And then you also have interest groups. So my ape is a pink ape. So there's a pink DAO. And in these DAOs, you have this opportunity to now encounter other apes that you may not encounter regionally, but you can also have conversations about fashion or culture or whatever it is that you want to. It's a fantastic place to start really building culture around a simple identifier, which is the pink fur. If you like pink, if you like fur, if you like pink fur, you're part of this group and you can join that. Ladies of BAYC is a fantastic group as well. Rather than always being a +1, they represent themselves as these are the ladies of BAYC, and they're going to have another gathering coming up pretty soon. That's actually in Miami. So this is another way that becoming part of a group based on the PFP that you have is a really, really powerful driver. We're looking to combine all these things to now become a regional ape kind of movement, essentially. So imagine if you're launching a PFP, or if you have a project, or you have a community, each person in this room can actually be someone who can become a community organizer and start to create community around this. So you start with the PFP, but the evolution of the PFP, in essence, it's really how do you define community? How do you build community? That's really the point here. And we talk about community quite often, it's kind of a jargon, but essentially what we're doing here is we're building a community. By engaging and participating, contributing, receiving, that's how these things are interacting. And it goes back to the way that we can identify ourselves as members of a community is through your PFP. So membership in clubs is it's a major, major benefit, utility, use case for your PFP. Next slide. So this is a chart that was created by Harry_4J. He mapped out all of the different brands, IPs that have been launched till date based on their PFP or their brand. So you can see here, some of them, it's a little blurry here, but the top line is fashion brands. So you have Gucci, Tiffany, Adidas, Tag Heuer. So you have all those on the branding side, food, beverage. But those are the only top 3. There's another 8 categories there. So you can see where the PFP and the NFT is going to start penetrating, has already started penetrating all different sectors of industry, and the potential that has to be able to unlock what a community can do and have direct access to community. This is also going to be something that we are actively discovering and investigating. And because we were the first kind of group to really launch on the commercial IP, allowing for that to happen, just by time-wise, a lot of the members have really started to do that, and you'll see that there's a huge number of entrepreneurs in the BAYC community. But this is where, from your communities or PFPs or ones that you want to join or even launch, how do you define what the PFP and community that you're going to be part of, does that move forward? What is the ethos? What is the thought? What binds the community? It's all about the things that really bring us together, right? The togetherness is really the big question. Next slide. Game is going to be very, very interesting. So this one here is from Crypto Painter. He's developing a game where it's a fighting style game. And you can see that he actually reached out to a couple of BAYC members and actually asked them for commercial rights to license. So now in the game, myself as a holder, I can actually have my NFT in the game itself as an actual player. If you look at the other one from Other Side Meta, thousands and thousands of players are in that game. And eventually we'll have our own PFPs in there. So if you remember the 3D avatar that I was showing you, what is the impact of not just playing a game that you have your own character, which a lot of games do have, but if you overlay ownership over that, that's a completely different kind of experience and something that really defines what the PFP, the 2D and 3D, and how the future utility and function is going to be for that. Next slide. So where's the opportunity here? I put a couple of images here. They may not be recognizable to you quite yet, but I think they will be in the future. On the left, you have Jenkins of LA. He was a member of the BAYC early on, and he was just creating a Twitter, creating just really fun stories. And I had so much fun following him. I talked to him. We were talking about how we create stories and such. And this particular IP has now taken off. They're being represented by some of the major agencies in Hollywood, and they're creating movies, books. So this was something that started off as a $10,000 grant from the BAYC community, and it has completely taken off. The middle one is Dr. Bombay. So this is Snoop Dogg's character. They charge more than $1 million for this character to come up on stage now. The kind of revenue being generated from this is massive. The opportunities for a brand to come in and partner and be able to take that asset and create another vertical is incredible. It's all in the digital space, and you go from 2D digital and also 3D digital, the unlocking capacity that's going to be, it's kind of mind-blowing. Then of course you have Born in Hungary. I think this is a Born in Hungary from Korea, but you saw the hamburgers here. How we're moving into beverage, food and bev, and how we're going to move into fashion and do all these things here. This is really where I'm asking everyone here to anticipate the PFPs that you carry, that you have, and you identify. How is it that as an entrepreneur or as an identity, you can really be able to take advantage of those things? So those are the things I really want you guys to consider moving into the future, where the PFP, don't think of a PFP, think of it as your identity. That's really where we're trying to go with this. Next slide. So you can reach me at Way of Jin. That's going to be the 2D version. Follow Board Jesse so you can follow track and see how we're going to develop a virtual influencer in Korea. And Cabotica is a project that I'm currently developing. Thank you very much.
Philippine Blockchain Week. See you next year.